So now I'm going to make holiday sweet potato stacks, but I really don't know why we have to wait for the holidays to make them, unless, of course, where you live, you can't get cranberries. However, where I live, I can get cranberries all year round in the freezer section. And if you love cranberries, and I love cranberries, then when you see them in season, just freeze them and use them all year round. You know, our local Winco gets so many that by the end of cranberry season, they're like 10 cents a bag. So that's the time to stock up. I'm going to be making my 5-minute cranberry relish for this recipe. If you have a cranberry relish you prefer, please make it. But know that when you buy it commercially, it's going to have a ton of sugar in it. I prefer to use the fruit, the whole fruit, and nothing but the whole fruit. And it's really easy to make. You need your cranberries, which are very, very tart, which is why there is so much sugar in cranberry relish. And so what's also going to make this sweet is that I'm using an orange. And so what I like to do is also use the zest. And so this is a little tool called the zester. You also might have heard of a tool called the microplane, where you kind of do like little shavings. I prefer this because it makes these nice long ribbons. And the way you use it, the best way I could describe it is if you're a man and you shave, you go like that, just kind of go like this over the orange and get these nice, beautiful ribbons that are nice and cute, but you don't go over the same spot, because then when you start to see the white, that's called the pith, and that's actually bitter. And so we're just going to go around the orange. If you didn't want to do this, that would be fine, but it just gives it a nice little more zing from the zest. And anytime you add zest, whether it's lemon or lime, orange, I've never actually used grapefruit zest, it just kind of bumps up the flavor of the dish. So we just go around. So I don't know if you can see these little shreds. I just like the way they look better than the shavings from the microplane. I find it's a little easier to use too. So I've got my zest, and now I'm going to peel my orange. There's many ways to peel an orange. One includes cutting. I got this cool little tool I got from Tupperware where you just kind of go around the orange. This is the fastest way I've seen. And then by doing that, it just kind of makes it pretty easy to find the spot and peel it. It's an art, peeling an orange. I find oranges are sometimes sweet and sometimes not, so you do really need the dates in this. This is obviously a navel orange, so we'll take the belly button out. And then we're just going to also place this in a food processor fitted with the S-blade. And then we're going to add our dates. You can add whole dates or date paste. You probably could add date syrup, but I like my relish a little bit on the thicker side, especially since I'm using it for stacks. So I wouldn't necessarily recommend date syrup in this unless you just need a little because maybe it wasn't sweet enough. So really how much you use is going to depend on how sweet you like your cranberry relish. Remember, you can always add, but you can't take away. And so now I'm going to process this in the food processor. I don't want to puree it to a liquid, but I do want to get it all incorporated. And so what I'm going to do, and I like it a little bit chunky, and I don't do this all the time, but because the frozen cranberries gave up some liquid, because I'm using it in stacks and I want it thicker, I'm just going to add some chia seeds. I like to use the white chia seeds over the black because the black I find can often discolor recipes. You can usually get white chia seeds where black ones are sold or online, but cranberries are dark enough that if you needed to use the black ones, it would be okay. It's when I'm doing things like vanilla frosting that I really am mindful, or chia puddings, to use the white ones. And chia seeds don't thicken immediately. It takes a little bit of time to thicken, usually in the fridge, but they just make it a little bit thicker. And you're adding nutrition, your omega-3 fatty acids. So we'll process again. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to transfer this to a bowl, and then I'm going to chill it a little bit while I make the sweet potato component. So now I'm going to show you how to assemble the holiday sweet potato stacks. The first thing you need to do is roast your sweet potatoes. Now this takes about 90 minutes in the oven, so I did it in advance. I like to roast them on a Silpat or a nonstick silicone baking sheet. If you don't like to do that, you can always use parchment paper. And I like to cut off the tips. So these have not been roasted yet. I don't poke them because when you poke them, then the ones that ooze, which are generally the orange or the garnet yams, then it oozes everywhere. At least when you just poke the ends, it goes out the sides. So I learned this from Chef Ramses Bravo, the executive chef at True North. And I just gently cut the tips off, and then the steam can escape from both sides. Now, I'm roasting different flavors because I like to do, you can do, just one flavor or one color sweet potatoes. You can do 3. So what I have here are different sweet potatoes. I have the purple one. These are the Stokes. These are just absolutely delicious, but the dark purple color is so beautiful. And then, of course, I have the traditional sweet potato, which is, if you want to know what it is, you shouldn't do this in the store, but once you own it, if you just scrape your fingernail, you can see the color, because sometimes when I'm buying the white sweet potatoes, also known as Hannah yams or Jersey yams, these are actually orange inside. So we've got the traditional orange, which are beautiful. And then we have the Hannah, which is my favorite for eating, or the white sweet potato. I'm also just going to cook another one up for me to eat lunch a different day. This is the Japanese. These are also delicious, but they're not as white colored on the inside as the Hannah. They're more beige. So I put it in a 400-degree oven on this tray for about 90 minutes. And then this is what I get. Now you can see the only one that really did ooze was the orange one. The other 3 generally don't. And so I'm going to make it in 3 colors. Purple and orange were Dr. John McDougall's favorite colors. He was the potato doctor. And so in his honor, I'm going to make this with purple and orange with the white in between. So what I want to do is how many potatoes you need. There's not an exact measurement because it depends how many stacks you're making, how big is your little thing that you're going to stack it in, which I'll show you in a second. So what I'm going to do first is I'm just going to take a little bit of my white Hannah, and I'm just going to mash it so that when I do put it in the stack, it's going to be nice and mushy. If it's too dry, you can always add a little bit of non-dairy milk to make it mushier. Just let me see if I have to do this. It might be okay. I'll let you know in a second. Sometimes they're just drier than others, Since this white one is going in the middle, it's probably okay if it's not perfect. I'm just going to add the tiniest bit of water. I would have added non-dairy milk, but then I'd have to walk all the way over there to the refrigerator. Who wants to do that? And again, if I'm making multiples, I'm going to mash the whole potato. But I'm just going to make one to show you. The purple's going to go on the bottom. This is just delicious to eat on its own. Sometimes I put a little bit of California balsamic vinegar on it in the flavor of pineapple, but these taste like cake. So do the Hannahs. So I find that it's easiest to get the skin off the potato if you do it while they're still warm. If you do it while they're hot, you might burn yourself. So now we're going to mash the purple. Oh, these are just beautiful. Again, I'll just a tiny bit of water just to get it a little bit more. There we go. So pretty. Matches my chef coat. Okay. And so now let's get stacking. So I have this little tool. I don't know if you can get it anymore. It's called the Stackable Gourmet. It's plastic, it's clear, and it's square shape. If you can't get it, I've looked on Amazon and eBay and Etsy. They have all kinds of different stackable tools. Some are shaped like a pyramid, but most of them are square or round. But you don't have to buy anything special. All you really have to do is take a can, something that you had in a can like beans or pineapple, and save the can. Now, be mindful though that not every can is going to be that easy to open both ends. So these wonderful salt-free Muir Glen tomatoes, the top opens, but the bottom, you're not going to be able to open. So just make sure that when you're getting a can, I like this better anyway because it's bigger, it's wider, so we'll have bigger stacks. So for example, this can of pineapple, the top will pull off and then I'll be able to open it. You wash it and then this can be your stack. It's not see-through, but you can see in it, so that's fine. And then what we're going to do is we're going to start with our first layer, which is the purple. And so we're just going to put it in. You know, I would estimate about a half a cup would be nice to start with, because we are going to try to get 3 layers in. And then you take your little tool and you push it down. And you can see that you have up to the second line. So then we have the other one too, but we're going to fill it with cranberry sauce in the middle. So I have just a little bit more here, so I'm just going to use it. Again, it doesn't have to be every single layer the same, but purple being my favorite color, let's have it as our base. So there we have it. When you're plating food, you might want to get a little towel like they have at the restaurant to wipe off any spills. And then we're going to take our cranberry relish that we made and then put that in next. We'll wipe off our tool so the colors stay intact. And you just press it down. It needs a little bit more. You can see like that. Now I can just put one more color if I want. Hopefully I have room for both colors. So let's get our white. One year for Thanksgiving, I made these and the people went nuts because of just the artistry and, let's face it, the deliciousness. So we'll put our white in there. And it's okay if I do this because there's going to be another, just press it down. And there is not a lot of room left for another layer of cranberry sauce. I put a little bit too much, but that's okay. So what we're going to do is just make a layer of the orange. We'll top it with that. And it's okay that I'm using the white dish because orange and white together will still make orange. And I'm not going to add any liquid to the orange sweet potato because it's mushy enough. And if you ever serve this to a crowd, which is not necessarily the easiest thing to do for a crowd, but you could make them in advance and then heat them up right before serving. So let's put our last layer on top. And again, the bigger your can or stacking tool, the more room you have. So let's just get that even. I think what I might do is take a knife and top it off. Wait for the great reveal when we take it off. It's just so pretty. And, you know, I like to serve it with a little bit extra cranberry relish in case I don't have the right ratio for people. Just make it there. And then when you're ready, you lift it up and you just have, I mean, this is art. Isn't this beautiful? The white layer doesn't show too much because I actually think I put a little bit more cranberry, but look at the purple. And you know what you could do is you could just top it off with a scoop just like this. I don't know, when I've made these at the holidays, people have just absolutely loved the holiday sweet potato stack, and I hope you'll love it too.